That's number 5 LSU versus number 8 Florida State. That's Sunday, 4:30 Pacific time. That is my number 14 team, LSU, versus my number 10 team, Florida State. We could disagree about where they are ranked, but we can all agree this game seems to have some national title implications, if not some college football playoff implications. There are folks that believe LSU is going to show back up in the SEC championship game against Georgia, and there are folks that think that Florida State is going to walk away with the ACC title, meaning they probably get 1 or 2-0, right, against Clemson on the way to doing such a thing. But this was a game that really gave us everything we wanted from a college football game, especially in a non-conference game last year when Florida State won that game. I got it right this time, 24-23. But LSU is going to have to play this game without Mason Smith. You've seen this. We'll just recap it very quickly. He's suspended for the game against LSU against FSU for signing signatures basically a month before the name, image, and likeness bylaws went through. It kind of sucks because he's already hurt. He's got an ankle injury, but he was not going to be in position to help them even if he was healthy. He's a great talent, and I think he makes them a better football team. And frankly, being able to get pass rush on a Heisman candidate like Jordan Travis, who can move around and hurt you with his arm and his legs, that's going to be difficult for them to overcome, especially as I think the weakest part of LSU's entire roster is at corner. And it ain't as if Florida State is coming in there empty-handed, along with Jordan Travis. We're talking about you're returning your leading receivers, your leading rusher, your leading sack leader. I mean, Jared Verse is a Bednarik Award candidate playing defensive end for them. But then that wide receiving core is so stacked. They got 3 dudes over 6'3". I mean, we got South Carolina tight end Jaheim Bell, who was outstanding on his Deebo Samuels at South Carolina. And I think he's going to figure not just tight end, but in the slot. We've also got, oh my goodness, Keon Coleman transferring in from Michigan State, who was outstanding, right? And then let's not forget Johnny Wilson, who absolutely put a pot knock on Oklahoma's head for 202 yards in the Blessed God Cheez-It Bowl, okay? They got 6'7", 6'4", 6'3" out there. And then we can talk about Trey Benson and Jordan Travis moving around. It's stacked. They got better on the defensive side, too, when we're talking about not just Jared Verse. We're talking about Fintrell Cypress, who transfers in from not West Virginia, but Virginia, to play a little corner for them. I understand why people believe that Florida State is a national title caliber team for the first time since 2014, but this is the game for you to prove it, all right? This is the game for you to show once again that it wasn't no fluke what you did last year, and that everybody should be betting on the Noles once again, that Osceola is ready to make war like it's Creek Indians 1820s, okay? That's what you're doing right now. You got to put on for your peoples, because it's been a while since we were able to talk about Florida State in a real way challenging for a national championship. As a matter of fact, I'm working on another project, which means that I've been looking at a lot of rankings over the last 10 years. And it struck me that in 2017, Florida State was ranked number 4 in the preseason AP poll. And by week 4, they were out of it. Just so we're keeping it clear. Like at one point, we thought Florida State was going to be there. It turns out we were wrong. And a lot has changed since then. But they have an opportunity to really put themselves in the college football playoff contention right away with a big game on Sunday, the one we're all going to be watching the closest. All right, from Florida State and LSU, let's go to Florida at number 14, Utah. That is Florida versus my number 9 team. Start with Cam Rising is a game time decision to play in this game, okay? The way that Kyle Whittingham said it is, we'll know about 10 minutes for the game, maybe 7 minutes. And I'm rolling my eyes because we all know Utah without Cam Rising is not a top 25 team. That's what it is. He is so important to what they do offensively and how that team feels about itself in every game, that not having him on the field has directly affected their performance. And they're going to need him more this year than they did last year, because we're talking about a guy who basically threw an interception that threw them out of the college football playoff from where I'm looking, right? If they won that game against Florida last year, we're really talking about Utah with a Pac-12 championship and 3 losses, having an opportunity to make a real argument for being in the playoff instead of just doing Ohio State the solid of kicking USC out. Now they're looking to not just win a 3rd consecutive Pac-12 championship, but they're looking to make their first appearance in the college football playoff with a win. And I think this game could have the most to do with it. It's one of the reasons that we're all excited about it. But also in there is he's going to need help, Cam Rising. It's not just that he lost Dalton Kincaid, first round pick, right, to the Buffalo Bills. It's that he's going to need one of these wide receivers to step up because he doesn't have one of the. There isn't a top 10 wide receiver in the league playing at Utah right now. They have a chance to fix that. Micah Pittman can get on this. Emory Simmons can get on this. Money Parks can get on this, right? We're talking about Devon Villay, who had 55 catches, 695 yards, and 5 TDs last year. They can help him. But the guy that I think is going to benefit him the most is Brant Keithy, who has never been more important to what the Utes are going to do in any given season. And that's a guy who has made the Pac-12, all Pac-12 teams 3 times, right? He missed a lot of last year because he had a knee injury, but he's back. He's the active leader at his position in receiving yards. I expect them to treat him a lot like they treated Dalton Kincaid. Just feed that man as much as they can. And then in the backfield, very excited about Jaquindon Jackson. I believe one of the more slept on running backs in all the sport because he's a converted quarterback. But last year, through his last 3 games, right, at Utah, we're talking about 101 yards rushing on average and 2 TDs. You know, I really love watching a converted quarterback become a running back because we saw this with Roschon Johnson at Texas and it worked out just fine. Same thing is happening with Jaquindon Jackson, who I expect to be the bell cow back. That is not to say Micah Bernard's not going to get a bunch of touches. You're probably going to want to be interchanging with them because, well, if you got them, run them. And then we're talking about Morgan Scalley in that defense, which has been historically pretty outstanding. I believe they're averaged 21.4 points a game given up scoring defense 2022. But they're going to have to find a way to do that without Clark Phillips. And just so we're clear, Clark Phillips was not just an All-American, but he had 6 interceptions 2022. It's ridiculous. I think Morgan Scalley has what he needs to put together, once again, a pretty good defense, the kind that can keep a lid on that mason jar that I'm calling the end zone. But this game is going to really give them an opportunity to present themselves as a playoff participant because Florida's just not that good this year. Okay? Unless Graham Mertz is showing us a version of himself that we have yet to see. The version of Graham Mertz that we saw at Wisconsin is 166 pass yards on average, 38 total TDs, 26 interceptions, and 33 total giveaways. That'll get you run out of Ben Hill Griffin quicker than the memory of Chris Leak leading Florida to the 2000 national championship. Or did Swamp King Tim Tebow do that too? I'm still salty about that. I'm still salty about that. But Graham Mertz has an opportunity to also redeem himself. He beat out Jack Miller for the job. He's going to have Trevor Etienne in the backfield. He's going to have Ricky Pearsall at wide receiver. They could be okay, right? Everybody believes that Billy Napier can build a winner there, right? Even in the face of what expects to be a slog for them in Gainesville this year. But, you know, try telling a Tennessee fan that to cry about Florida not being great. It's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. Same thing with Georgia fans. Let's go from Florida versus Utah to another, well, big game for me. Number 3, Ohio State at Indiana. That's 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's my number 3 team also versus Indiana. And the headline, the storyline here is who's the quarterback. Now, we know Ryan Day has said that Kyle McCord is going to get the start against Indiana, but he also had said we'll see some Devin Brown. I think the thing to take from this is not that Kyle McCord isn't that good, but that Devin Brown is that good. Because this was always Kyle McCord's job to lose from where I'm sitting. Not just because he's the dude that's had the longest relationship with Marvin Harrison Jr., who's the best non-quarterback in the sport right now, but that he's also a 5-star quarterback and that he got the start against Akron last year and purported himself well. And we're still in the middle of a streak for Ryan Day that is, if you started a game at Ohio State as a quarterback for Ryan Day, whether offensive coordinator or head coach, you are a first-round selection in the NFL draft. Full stop. Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud. Okay? Goes just like that. And we're talking about not falling past 12 or 14 for Dwayne Haskins, right? Other than that, you're one of the better players in the sport. The thing that I love most about this story, though, is that Ryan Day is willing to let this go for as long as he needs to, right? That's the part that we wanted to be very careful about talking about on the show is we're going to see Kyle McCord go against what we expect to be an Indiana that is going to be up for the fight for the first 3 series, and then Ohio State's going to do. They're going to overpower them. But I'm really interested to see who looks good running the offense, who doesn't make the mistakes, who puts them in great play positions, and frankly, who gets the ball to the wide receivers the best. I mean, it's not just Marvin Harrison Jr. out there. It's not just Emeka Egbuka out there. Julian Fleming's almost been forgotten about. And that's the number 1 wide receiver in the class of 2020. You know, I would love for Indiana's the game against Indiana to be the Julian Fleming game. To once again remind people that it's not uncommon for Ohio State to have 3 guys that could feature as number 1s anywhere, right? This is becoming regular. This is what you're coming to expect from Ohio State, which at one point looked like, I'm not ashamed to say it, between Ohio State and Michigan, I used to be bored to tears. I know that people want to run the football. I know people want to take care of the football, but a 14-year-old dude that grew up worshiping the air raid don't want to see nobody running no football 40 times. I love this version of Ohio State. I love it when a coach says, no, we're going to get away from basketball on grass and we're going to spread it out and we're going to go vertical. They have an opportunity to do that once again with Kyle McCord or Devin Brown at quarterback, and it's just which one is going to mesh best with the offense. Also, we're going to look at the booth, right? Ryan Day gave hints that he might give up the play calling duties just so he is a little bit less stretched come November when it is absolutely time to crank it up and try to punch a ticket in the college football playoffs. So does that mean Brian Hartline is going to be calling plays on Saturday? We'll see. We'll all be interested. How does that affect Ryan Day's ability as a time manager of that sideline? One of my favorite positions in the sport is offensive assistant, because the offensive assistant's usually in the headset going, coach, we should probably call a timeout, right? Or giving you the situation, understanding the down and distance from a big sky point of view, not something that play calling head coaches are always good at, right? Especially play calling head coaches that are real into the offensive side of the ball and kind of don't even check in on what the defense is doing. Like, they understand their lane and they let that guy basically be the head coach of the defense. I'm interested also to see, how does this Jim Knowles defense respond? Now, no disrespect to Indiana, but going 6-18 in the last 2 years does not make you good. In fact, many of us would argue it's the opposite of good. So when I say I do not expect Jim Knowles' defense to get stretched, I do not expect Jim Knowles' defense to get stretched. So if you're watching this game, the score margin is going to be very important. Again, I do rankings, right? And a lot of these rankings are derived from how do they look and what do we expect. We do not expect anything less than covering the spread for an Ohio State, even as I don't pick spreads, right? We do not expect the defense to get thrown off 300 yards. We do not expect the defense to give up a 100-yard rusher. We expect an Ohio State defense to answer the bell, because we watched Notre Dame come out against Navy in Dublin, Ireland, and give up 3 points. Now, Navy ain't great, but also you outscored them by 39. That's what we expect, because that game also is going to be one that we have circled on the calendar, because the sport is not just about the teams that are going undefeated. It's about how much would we like to see these two teams play again. Alabama and Georgia, Ohio State and Michigan. I can even see a Notre Dame, Ohio State, if both of those teams prove to be good. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.